It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. And if you've lived in the south of the UK for a number of years, and if you've travelled on holiday to the south of the UK, and maybe you've been for a pub lunch somewhere in an old village pub, maybe somewhere in Wiltshire, along the south coast there, then you probably would have seen an old beer sign called Ushers. They were a great big brewery back in the day. They started out life in 1824. Thomas Usher and his wife opened a small brewery in Trowbridge, and they were still called Ushers of Trowbridge right up until, well, they closed down in the year 2000. So let me first and foremost show you the beer. This is Ushers of Trowbridge. This is their Celebration Ale, brewed and bottled in the United Kingdom by Ushers Brewery in Trowbridge. 275 milliliter bottle. It was a royal celebration beer back in the day from 1981, 29th of July 1981, Charles and Diana. And what the story with this beer, the story with lots of these beers that I have, is that there was a man in Bristol and he would collect beers from special occasions. So if there was King Charles becoming the king, breweries years ago would have produced beers for that occasion. Indeed, I think there were a few breweries who did brew beers for those occasions, and this man collected these beers and stored them away most of his life. It was what he did. He passed away. The beers made their way to Cardiff in a flea market, like a house clearance thing. They clear your houses, they take anything of value from the house, and then the family get the house emptied and they sell some of their stuff, things are reused, second-hand stuff. So I went to Cardiff, I went to this flea market, and I come across this massive box of beers, and I simply had to have them. I've owned them now for 2 years, but I'm running out of space. And I need to clear. I'm doing some renovation work on the house. I need the space. So I thought, the flea market are never going to buy them back off me. They're not really of any value. I could put them on eBay, but they're not really worth any value. So it's a case of, I thought, let's put them on YouTube. Let's put these beers on YouTube. Ushers Brewery closed down in the year 2000, so there's not been an Ushers beer for 24 years. Silver bottle cap. The beer was £4. Wow. Solid old bottle though, look at that. So the history of Ushers, like any big company. Oh, look, there's some carbonation. Look at that. Small amounts of carbonation in this beer. The bottle cap was very hard to come off, so the beer was definitely sealed. So a warning to the likes of Cadbury's and other big British institutions. 20 odd years down the line, are we going to see Cadbury's? I'm not sure. They've been bought out by Kraft. Now they're owned by Mondelez. Will they just disappear into nothingness in the next 20 odd years? Like Ushers. Apparently, Wychwood Brewery produce some Ushers beer every now and again. But they just disappear. We're a country of, when we have something good, we sell it. Ushers sold to Watney's. Watney's then become, Watney's sold out 3 times after that. And it's all now Punch Taverns, I believe. Punch Taverns own the rights to Ushers. You'd never know it, would you? Here's the beer in the glass then. It's not going to be much of a beer review. The beers, I'm just giving you a bit of a history really of Ushers Brewery and the dangers really of selling our great British institutions, our great British companies. We just sold ARM, haven't we, the computer chip company. We don't seem to want to hold on to anything anymore. This one's a touch vinegar-like. This is my third old beer of the day. It's weirdly starting to become an acquired taste. It's weirdly like you can only taste beer like this when it's really, really old beer. This beer is 44 years old. I'm drinking a 44-year-old beer. There's a little bit of biscuit malt in there. There's like the remnants, the smallest remnants of it being a beer, but it's something else now. It's like a light barley wine type flavoured beer. A little bit vinegary, a little bit funny on the nose. Leather, like a tanning, like a leathery tanning like flavour, like chewing on leather. Not that I've ever chewed on leather, but be a bit more like taking my belt off and chewing my belt. But it's just nice to give a nod to, and it's just nice to finally drink an Ushers beer, because you see the signs, as I mentioned earlier, you see the pub signs, you still see them, the big shield, the big Ushers shield, you still see it, especially around the south. And I've always had one of those imaginations where I wonder what their beer tasted like. It was probably alright at best. It was probably like drinking a Green King pint towards the end of the brewery's life, you know? It was probably just bland bitters they were producing at the very end. But still, one for the memory banks, didn't it? One for the memory banks and one for the... I tell you what it is doing. I've sipped 3 beers now. I'm 3 of these old beers in, and I'm starting to get a touch lightheaded. I'm getting slightly lightheaded on 44-year-old beer. Isn't that marvellous that it's still doing its job? Still alcohol content in there. Of course there's going to be alcohol content. It's what's saving the beer, really. But I won't be straying too far from the toilet from this one. So that's a look at one of the great brewers from the UK back in the day, Ushers of Trowbridge. Probably never to be seen again. And I bet there were people back in the day that were like, Ushers will be around forever. Ushers will be around forever. So a warning to Cadbury's and a warning to anything good that the British companies sell down the river is that once you sell that company, you may have money for the rest of your life, but the future of that company is in the hands of corporate mega companies. And the bigger fish will always come along and eat the little fish, and you may not be around. Like Ushers are not around anymore. Thanks for watching. Please put your comments in the comments box, subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews, give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom, cheers.